Hey everyone, how's it going? So Victreebel is a Pokemon I've been requested to do for a really long time. A lot of people really think Victreebel, not just the best grass Pokemon, but potentially the best non-Mewtwo Pokemon in Red and Blue. In terms of Victreebel's stats, they're pretty good. It might not be the fastest Pokemon. It should be fast enough to outspeed almost everything, because in the beginning of the game, we're going to be fighting pre-evolved Pokemon, and at the end of the game, with the unique increases to our stats that the opponents don't get, Victreebel should probably outspeed everything. And then we have a base 100 special and a base 105 attack, which is extremely good. Where Victreebel has a bit of an issue is its moveset. It gets some really good moves, but it doesn't get a lot of moves. And in terms of moves that do damage, it only has moves of 2 types, plus Acid, which is a very weak move. So that might be a bit of an impediment, but the truth is I do have a really good feeling here. With all that said, we're just about to get the run underway. But first, I want to give a massive shout out to today's sponsor, AFKJourney, which is officially launching March 27th. AFKJourney is available on smartphones through iOS or the Play Store, but if you prefer, it's also available on PC, free to play for all versions. AFKJourney presents some innovative new features to RPG games. It's not just an idle game, but an ethereal fantasy RPG game with distinctive visuals, intricate gameplay mechanics, and an added dimension with its PC-compatible side-scrolling elements. AFKJourney has a beautiful canvas art style where it feels like everything is alive. In this game, you'll embark on a fantasy quest, gathering heroes across 6 factions. You'll reunite with AFK Arena's beloved characters and discover new ones. You'll have to master strategies on the battlefield in order to conquer each challenge with precision. A Hex battle map allows players to freely assemble their hero lineup and strategically position them. All of this in the palm of your hand. This game has diverse, big maps to explore, fun puzzles to solve, and interesting NPCs to meet, all of which can be effortlessly played with just one hand. If you're familiar with AFK Arena's resonance system, in Journey, not only do heroes have resonance, but so do equipment. And just like in Journey, your resources grow while you eat or sleep. During the official release, players can get all 40 heroes for free, including epics, giving a wide array of RPG strategies. Additionally, you'll receive 200 free pulls by progressing through the game and completing events like the 7-day login. Download AFKJourney by clicking the links in the description or in the comment section and use my CDKey AFKJourney88 in order to get 100 diamonds and 18,888 gold coins. So one major advantage Victreebel has over other Pokemon is that it absolutely obliterates Brock. But you may have noticed something interesting about the battle. I mean, first off, Onix actually did outspeed us, which isn't the best, but didn't really matter. But the second and more important thing you may have noticed is we got 2 consecutive critical hits. And let me explain why that's happening, although longtime viewers probably already know. Generation 1 does critical hits very differently. In Generation 1, each Pokemon has different odds of getting a critical hit based on their base speed. For a regular move, let's say Acid, you take Victreebel's base speed of 70 divided by 512, and you end up having roughly a 14% chance that every attack you do is a critical hit. But Razor Leaf seems to critical hit every single time, and there's a reason for this. With Razor Leaf, you take that denominator 512 and you divide it by 4. And for those of you who are bad at math like me, 512 divided by 4 is 64. And you don't have to be good at math to know that 70 divided by 64 is a number greater than 1, which means that when you're using a move like Razor Leaf or Karate Chop that have an increased critical hit ratio, as long as your Pokemon's base speed is over 64, it should critical hit every single time. Of course, due to a bug in Generation 1, there's a 1 in 256 chance you don't get a critical hit, but hopefully that doesn't happen to us. What this all means is that Victreebel, even though it looks like it's only using a base 55 power attack, because every hit will be a critical hit, it's really closer to around a base 100 power attack. And if you're wondering, wait, J-Rose, isn't double 55 110? Generation 1 is interesting, and maybe one day I'll talk about how the damage formula for critical hits work in Generation 1. But for now, let's go and beat Misty really quickly. So there's a couple things I want to mention in this Misty battle. Staryu outspeeds us, which sucks, but we one-shot Staryu. And then Starmie outspeeds us, we don't one-shot it. Funny enough, if Razor Leaf actually was 2 times, we would. But what's interesting is that Misty didn't use her water attacks like Bubble Beam, which probably would have dealt more damage to me than Tackle. And the reason for this is that Misty has what's called good AI, and this is going to help Victreebel a lot, and is a big reason I think Victreebel has a really good chance. Since Victreebel is a grass type, Misty will never use moves like Bubble Beam or Water Gun that are resisted. And there's another consequence of this AI that will help out Victreebel later, but for now it's time to battle Rival 2, who might be a little difficult, but shouldn't be too big an issue. Rival 2 leads with Pidgeotto, which is probably the worst Pokemon he could lead with. As a flying type, it resists Razor Leaf, so I put it to sleep and then use Acid, and I get a pretty clutch defense drop. The reason I was scared was not because it has a super effective attack, but because it could lower my accuracy and make this battle annoying. But once we put it to sleep, everything was good, and we were able to beat Rival 2 no problem. And so far, we've had 3 major battles, all 3 victories for Victreebel. The next major battle will take place on the SS Anne, and something unfortunate happened. You may notice I'm burnt, which is going to waste a little bit of time, but I don't want to heal the burn quite yet. We also get a very unclutch miss versus Pidgeotto, but thankfully we're able to knock it out in just 2 hits of Razor Leaf. We do outspeed and one-shot the Raticate. We even outspeed and one-shot Kadabra, and then Charmeleon's going to be a 2-shot. The Ember crits, but we're fine. Now, the reason I'm burned, in case you were wondering, is that there's a trainer with a Ponyta and a Growlithe that use Ember. I don't need the extra experience from the trainer, but there's a rare candy there, and I have found that it actually saves time usually to get that rare candy. Then to save the roughly 45 seconds and forget about it, towards the end of the game, each level does tend to make a pretty big difference. But this also meant I couldn't use my other really cool move that I picked up from the SSN that you may have seen Victreebel can learn, but some of you may be surprised a Victreebel can learn it. But I think it's going to be a really important move going forward. But we're not going to use it in the next major battle either versus Lieutenant Surge. There's no reason to. Razor Leaf would do way more damage. We outspeed and one-shot Voltorb, outspeed and one-shot Pikachu, and Raichu outspeeds us. We don't one-shot, but the battle still goes fairly easily. You'll notice Surge does not have good AI, and thus will use a move that is resisted by Victreebel, but didn't really matter. I also know I've mentioned this before, but if you're wondering why I'm so stubborn about healing, 2 things. People tend to think there's a healing spot in the SSN. I think there's a couple reasons for this. They may be confusing the SSN with Gold and Silver's SS Aqua, or they may be confusing it with Gen 3's version of the SSN, which does have a place to heal. But the only way to heal in Generation 1 would be to go to a Pokemon Center, which I don't want to go, because what we're going to be able to do is when we get the bike voucher, we can actually dig out of that building. Can't do that in yellow, but you can do it in red and blue, and it'll take me all the way back to Cerulean, which saves time. And I do this in every single one of my runs. Alrighty, with all of that out of the way, we're going to proceed to the second third of the game. And here Victreebel doesn't have quite the amazing matchups it did in the first third, but I still think it's going to be outstanding. The first thing I decide to do is take on the Rocket Hideout and the first Giovanni battle. He has 2 rock Pokemon, and we have Razor Leaf, so we're easily able to one-shot his first 2 Pokemon. Kangaskhan is terrible special anyway, so we can knock it also out in 1 hit. Pretty good. The next thing I do is go to battle Erica, who's actually going to be pretty easy for, well, a couple of reasons. So Erica leads with her own Victreebel. We're only a little higher in level, but you'll notice it uses Poison Powder, and it's a 2-shot with Body Slam. Why does it go for Poison Powder? What a weird move. And then Vileplume does the same thing. So what's going on here is the good AI really being bad. Poison Powder is a poison move, and I'm part grass type. So you'd think super effective. I mean, if you were a 1995 era AI. And that's exactly what's going on here. And that's part of what makes Victreebel so good. Its poison typing is going to confuse Pokemon that are going to use status moves, in this case ones that don't even affect Victreebel. In terms of this specific battle, it didn't matter that much. We would have won anyway, but it definitely sped up the process. In later battles, however, it's going to completely break them wide open and allow Victreebel to beat them much faster than it otherwise should. But we're kind of a ways away from some of those battles. For now, we have another very easy battle in Rival 4, after we do our shopping, of course. Rival 4 is even easier than Rival 3 because we have Body Slam and we're not burned. Unfortunately, it doesn't one-shot, so we have to finish it off with Acid. This is actually the last time I use Acid. We're going to have to replace it. We also don't one-shot Gyarados, which is pretty annoying. We do one-shot Kadabra with Body Slam, and then Charmeleon, and then we proceed to probably the most annoying part of the run, at least for Victreebel, and that is the Pokemon Tower. So the reason the Pokemon Tower is so annoying is that Victreebel doesn't really have a great move to use against the Ghost Pokemon, so as I go to battle this Channeler, we're stuck using Razor Leaf, and potentially we could be put to sleep, so I decide to put the Ghastly to sleep, just to make things a little easier. The second Ghastly, I decide to YOLO it, and then I hit myself in confusion, get hit by Nightshade, and that could have gone pretty badly. So yeah, that's going to be pretty annoying, and there's really not much I can do about that. But as you'd expect, even though these battles are a little slower than I'd like, they're not really a problem, and we can proceed to what realistically is the second half of the game, or the second half of the second third. I really like dividing this game for some reason. Typically in these runs, I'd make my way to Fuchsia, do the Safari Zone, and try to battle Koga, but I'm going to do something different for Victreebel. So, like always, we're going to head to the 5th floor of the Sylph Company and get the card key, but instead of battling Rival 5 right away, we're going to go to the 7th floor and we're going to pick up TM3. That TM is Swords Dance, and this TM should make both Koga and Rival 5 a lot easier. Now, I'm not sure if Rival 5 will be possible yet. We might need the extra experience points from a Koga battle in order to make it doable, but since I'm already in Sylph Company, it just made sense to me to at least try the battle. At worst, we lose a few minutes, and at best, we save time not having to re-enter Sylph Company. So as Pidgeotto is evolved to Pidgeot, and I'm going to try to put it to sleep, it outspeeds us, and now I'm going to set up 3 Swords Dance. The problem is, we might not outspeed the Alakazam. At this point, we're going to one-shot everything, but we might not outspeed Alakazam. We don't, and it does crit, which I don't think mattered. So, because it outsped us, the smart thing to do is go battle Koga first, because after we battle Koga, we're going to have a lot more speed than we do now. Now, some of you might think I should have just battled Koga first, but I disagree. Having Swords Dance makes Koga just a heck of a lot quicker. I think it is worth it. I'm also going to put Coughing to sleep, just in case. But unfortunately, I don't set up all 3 Swords Dance, so I'm going to put Muck to sleep. I'm thinking about the final Pokemon, Weezing. I want to knock it out in 1 Body Slam. And now we've made it to Weezing, and of course we get a critical hit, but thankfully, X Attack. So, a lot of you probably know this who've been watching my videos, but in case you're new, in Generation 1, critical hits ignore your stat gains, which is why my second Body Slam did so much more damage than the first one, even though it was a critical hit. This is a uniquely annoying thing about Generation 1, but like what's going to happen in the Rival 5 battle, it's just part of the game. Speaking of the Rival 5 battle, I am convinced we're going to win. I put Pidgeot to sleep. I'm going to set up all 3 of my Swords Dance. Pidgeot does wake up and gets a critical hit, which actually could be a pretty big problem. We level up here, which actually is kind of a huge problem. And I'm actually going to reset. I need more Body Slams, I forgot to heal, and I also don't want to level up after Pidgeot. Now, I know so many of you are tired of me explaining this, and I've gone really fast at it, but this is always someone's first video, so the reason I'm leveling up, I mean, one, I do want to get to the healing spot and restore my power points, but I'd also like to level up before I battle the Pidgeot. And you know what? It's probably easier to show you why than to tell you. So this is our 3rd battle with Rival 5, most difficult battle yet. We're going to put Pidgeot to sleep, and we're going to use 3 Swords Dance. The first part of this battle, it's going to be the exact same as what you've already seen in the first battle, but where things are going to change is with Alakazam. We now easily outspeed it, and we actually just naturally outspeed Charizard, which is pretty good. But the reason we outspeed Alakazam is every time we use Swords Dance, which I legitimately want to use, we're getting an unintended 12.5% boost to our speed. That boost is called, help out everyone in the comments section. Well, I guess comments, you can't hear them through the screen, but someone probably did say it. It's called the Badge Boost Glitch. And like with the critical hit thing, it's just a part of Generation 1. And for Pokemon like Victreebel, which have access to moves that change its stats, it's an integral part of its strategy. We're not going to need the Badge Boost glitch at all versus the Rocket Trainer, nor Giovanni number 2, although in this battle, it may actually had been quicker had I used a Swords Dance at the beginning, but there was no threat of me actually losing. Where the Badge Boost glitch is going to be a little bit more valuable, theoretically, is against Sabrina. However, as you're going to see, there is a massive caveat to using this unintended mechanic. So, Sabrina leads with the best Pokemon of all time. I'm going to put it to sleep, so I naturally outsped the Kadabra. And now it wakes up, and I use 2 Swords Dance. But you're going to notice I'm not going to outspeed the Alakazam, which is weird after 2 Badge Boosts. Shouldn't I outspeed? Again, for those of you who've watched now 86 of these videos, I'm really sorry, but to make a long story short, the Badge Boost glitch is canceled when you level up. So a huge strategy point for these runs is knowing how much experience points I have and not leveling up at the wrong time, which unfortunately we keep seeming to do. But against the Elite Four and the Champion, it's going to be really important to know exactly how many experience points we're going to gain and make sure our Badge Boosts are used at the correct time. And there's going to be some very interesting usage of Swords Dance to try and make sure we outspeed things. Because if we outspeed things, when you have +6 in attack and a base 105 attack stat, you're going to knock them out pretty quickly. I'm going to be honest, Sabrina went much better than I thought, but Blaine may end up being challenging. And there's not some weird Gen 1 reason, he's the Fire-type gym leader. So he leads with Growlithe, and we're going to do the same thing, put it to sleep and use Swords Dance. I'm not sure what my experience points are like, so we're going to knock it out. We knock out Ponyta, and we level up after Ponyta. The good news is we outspeed the Rapidash, and since Rapidash is so fast, we just naturally outsped the Arcanine, which is really good. And in case you're wondering, isn't Arcanine faster than Victreebel? I do get asked this quite a bit. Every time you knock out a Pokemon, you get stat experience. In Gen 3, these are called EVs, but none of your opponents get these, at least not until the Battle Frontier of Emerald and like in the main game, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, I think. But what this results in is that the Pokemon you use are always going to be a lot more powerful than the ones the opponents use, even if they're at the same level. We only have 1 gym leader left, and he shouldn't be that difficult, Giovanni. I do make a mistake in this battle, where I should have probably used a Swords Dance versus the Rhyhorn. Honestly, maybe 2, and it would have accomplished a couple things. We would have been able to one-shot the Nidoqueen and Nidoking, now we won't. And we also wouldn't have been hit by that Sand Attack since we would have outsped Dugtrio. But thankfully, we only got 1 miss with Razor Leaf, and we're easily able to defeat Giovanni and move on to the last part of the game. Our first test is Rival 6, and he has a really good team. Well, we're going to use some badge boosting strategies here, but not immediately. We're going to put Pidgeot to sleep, avoid using Swords Dance, and 3-hit KO it with Body Slam and Razor Leaf. You'll notice we level up here. Now I'm going to just use Swords Dance 3 times and hope I don't level up again, but I might. I'm not exactly sure. So we'll one-shot Rhyhorn, we'll one-shot Execute unless we get a critical hit, but thankfully, because of good AI, it uses Poison Powder, which is useless. We then knock it out, another critical hit. We knock out Gyarados, we knock out Alakazam, even with a critical hit there, and unfortunately we do level up, meaning Charizard will outspeed Victreebel and knock us out. This kind of sucks, and I basically have 2 options here. I have about 700 experience points needed to get to the next level. I can just use all my rare candies, I have 10 of them at this point, but that feels like a bit of a waste. With just 1 additional battle, we'll have 1 more level, and 1 more level can make all the difference. So instead what we're going to do is fly to Fuchsia City, go and battle this guy right here who's pretty quick, and we're going to gain the experience points we need to level up. I wish I didn't miss with Razor Leaf there, but theoretically this should be pretty fast, probably one of the faster trainers I can defeat. Then we'll use our rare candies, all 10 of them, and by using these rare candies, we should just naturally outspeed Charizard, and we also shouldn't level up as quickly in the middle of battles, which is good, doubly good. So unsurprisingly, our next battle with Rival 6 goes pretty well. I even forgot to heal here. But we're going to put it to sleep and use all the Swords Dance. I actually don't bother putting it to sleep again. We're only at 31 HP. Oh no, but we should just one-shot everything. As long as we don't get a critical hit, we're fine. We're not getting critical hits. And so we've made it to Charizard. We just need one more no critical hit, and we don't get a critical hit, which is a weird thing to cheer for. And that's it. The most difficult boss to this point, we lost to. Meet Ledge Boss. When you're playing at increased speed, Ledge Boss is one of the worst bosses in all of Pokemon, because if you don't slow down, you just walk right off of it and have to do Rival 6 all over again. It's been a long time since I lost to Ledge Boss, but it reared its ugly head. In this battle, however, Pidgeot actually stayed asleep, and once again, we're not getting any critical hits, which is good. We make it to Charizard, but of course, we get the critical hit. But thankfully, because of how bad the AI is in Generation 1, we get the retroactive potion, because this trainer shares the same bag data as Rival 1A, and it uses the potion during its normal turn, which isn't how potions work for us or for the AI after Gen 1, but that's why we love Gen 1, right? Okay, so now we've made it to the Elite Four. I have some strategies in mind for the Elite Four. I have some TMs I've been saving. I think this is going to go pretty well. Hopefully it'll be a first try victory, and Victreebel is on pace to be a top tier Pokemon, but how top tier will depend on what happens here. The first trainer is Lorelei, and she has mostly water Pokemon, so we can just use 3 Razor Leafs to dispatch her first 3 Pokemon, and I was hoping an unboosted Body Slam would knock out Jinx. It comes close, but doesn't quite do so. But then disaster. Razor Leaf misses versus Lapras. Blizzard is 90% accurate. For the record, Razor Leaf is 95%. And so unless this one-shots, we're going to lose, or we might get a retroactive Super Potion. Very unfortunate Razor Leaf doesn't one-shot. Also unfortunate we missed, but hey, even with some really bad luck and maybe even a little bad play on my part, we still won first try. Bruno, I made a mistake here, but it's gonna be okay. So in Generation 2, Special was split into Special Attack and Special Defense, and the Hitmons actually have really good Special Defense, but they don't have good Special, which I don't know why I didn't realize that. But yeah, it took me a little longer to knock them out because I forgot about that, but we still won. Like, that didn't actually impact the results. Okay, Battle 3, I'm going to delete Razor Leaf. I know, scandalous. For Mimic. And we're going to use Agatha's own strategy against her. Put Gengar to sleep. And then I'm going to put Golbat to sleep. Use a Swords Dance to try and get a little bit of speed. One-shot Golbat. Mimic Dream Eater. Thankfully, Gengar didn't swap when I used Mimic because that would break the game. And unfortunately, Dream Eater doesn't one-shot, but at least Gengar is staying asleep. We level up here. We do outspeed Haunter, but we don't hit with Sleep Powder. We actually missed twice with Sleep Powder, but thankfully it missed with its Sleep move. And Dream Eater doesn't one-shot it either, and it does swap to Arbok. I'm going to put it to sleep just to make sure. Use Dream Eater. Against Arbok, I'll use Dream Eater. Why the heck not? And now Gengar number 2, it confuses me. And don't forget, I've used a Swords Dance, so I hit myself in confusion for massive damage. Then it uses Nightshade, I'm confused. I hit myself in confusion for massive damage again, and once again, coincidence, 3 HP remaining, but this time we don't pull through. We hit ourselves in confusion for the 3rd consecutive time, and that's just the nature of Agatha. That's okay, however, because we use in-game time to measure these as opposed to real time. This won't massively affect Victreebel's placement, but it is something I consider. Now, in this battle versus Lorelei, I said it differently! I'm the worst! I used the Swords Dance versus Slowbro. All this meant is that Jinx would be one-shot, and I would have a little bit more special versus Lapras, which should resist Blizzard better, but the battle was still easy. Against Bruno, I'm just going to use Razor Leaf exclusively, and if you'll notice, Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee are easily dispatched. Again, I've been playing a lot of Gen 2, and just didn't think about how things were different, so my bad. But very, very quickly, we have made our way back to Agatha, And let's hope we don't get atrocious luck. So she swaps turn 1 into Golbat, I put it asleep, use Swords Dance, a second Swords Dance, and then Body Slam. I better not hit myself in confusion. Gengar, we put it to sleep, and then we're going to go Mimic. We're going to Mimic Dream Eater. It swaps to Haunter. We're going to put it to sleep. We're going to use Dream Eater, and because of the badge boost, we do one-shot this time. We level up to level 60, that's fine. I'm going to use the third Swords Dance to try and outspeed Gengar number 2. We don't one-shot Gengar number 1, but it stays asleep, and we get a retroactive Super Potion, allowing us to knock it out. Arbok, I could just go for Body Slam, and I do. And then Gengar number 2, we put it to sleep, and Dream Eater doesn't one-shot, but it stays asleep, and that is what I was thinking the battle would look like. Pretty easy. We use her own strategy against her, and we do have Mega Drain for a grass move, but what good is a grass move versus the Dragon Trainer Lance? No, I had a better idea how to deal with Lance. We're going to put his Gyarados to sleep. We're going to try to set up Swords Dance, but first, let's mimic Hydro Pump. It wakes up, and you know what? I don't really care. Let's set up a Swords Dance, and you know what? I do care. Let's put it to sleep, set up another Swords Dance, and you know what? We're ready. Body Slam, we level up. Body Slam. Now, Aerodactyl actually will outspeed us at this point, and oh my god, we're confused. Oh my god, we just hit ourselves in confusion. No. Okay, Supersonic is good. Alright, well, Hydro Pump one-shots, and now, as long as we don't hit ourselves in confusion, we win, and we do. So, fun fact, those Dragonite and Dragonair would only use Agility or Barrier because of the good AI, so that's kind of nice. But now I had a choice. Do I keep Mimic or do I teach Mega Drain? I'm going to keep Mimic just in case there's a move that seems useful towards the end. But maybe Mega Drain would help versus Rhydon. We're going to use a rare candy here so we don't level up in the middle of the battle. And let's see if we can first try the Champ. So the Champ sets out Pidgeot. We put it to sleep. It stays asleep. 1 Swords Dance, stays asleep. 2 Swords Dance, stays asleep. 3 Swords Dance, and we knock it out with... No, we don't. Critical hit. It wakes up, and then we knock it out with Body Slam. Thankfully, they can't attack the turn they wake up, making sleep really OP. We don't get a crit versus Alakazam, which is really good. And now out comes Rhydon, and at this point I realize, you know, probably should have had Mega Drain instead of Mimic. What am I going to really Mimic? So Rhydon becomes a 3 KO, but not a big deal. Against Executor, I was worried, but realized I'd probably one-shot with Body Slam, and I do. Against Gyarados, I could mimic Hydro Pump, but why? A max-powered Body Slam will one-shot Charizard, but uh-oh, we level up. Moment of truth. Do we outspeed? Yep, we do. Yay! This was a good run, a really fun run. And to be honest, it was one of the most me, or from your guys' perspective, J-Rose runs we've had in a while. It used all the Gen 1 staples, Badge Boost Glitch, critical hits, Mimic, all these things pretty unique to Generation 1. Well, we're at level 63 and we're at 324, which puts Victreebel right in the middle of a lot of very good Pokemon. Honestly, you could make a case to swap around all the Pokemon right in this clump, but I've decided to put Victreebel behind Hypno, and the reason is it only lost like 5-6 times in the entire run. That's pretty uncommon. And had I just used Mega Drain on Rhydon, we probably would have saved like a minute or so. It just feels like the right placement for it. But let's be clear, all the Pokemon in this, the A tier, are pretty much the same, and it's pretty cool to see the evolved form of 2 of my favorite Pokemon, Alakazam and Victreebel, right here in the top tier. So that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. What Pokemon do you want to see next? Let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.